Ladies and gentlemen, Pathfinders, welcome back to our second part of the Campaign Skills series. Right now, we'll be looking at Campaign Skills 2. We'll be looking at the Campaign Skills 2 honor, and this is how the Campaign Skills 2 honor patch looks like. Campaign Skills 2. Before we jump into Campaign Skills 2, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Also try and watch our video on Campaign Skills 1 so that you get in-depth understanding of Campaign Skills 2 and where we're coming from and where we're going. Without wasting much time, let's get into it. Campaign Skills 2 requires you to be at least in the 6th grade. Requires to be at least in the 6th grade. And it says Campaign Skills 2 has been designed to so that it is within the capability of Pathfinders who are in the 6th grade or higher. Philosophy of outdoor etiquette. Let's look at some philosophy of outdoor etiquette. It says be considerate of other campers. We elaborated on this in the previous series of Campaign Skills, which is Campaign Skills 1. When purchasing a tent, buy ones in muted colors that will blend in with the environment. Blue, green, and brown are preferred to red and orange. Okay. People go camping to escape the garishness of the city. Leave that behind. What does this mean? Sometimes some of us are going to camp because we want to escape the noise and the buzzes and the hustles and the whistles and the horns of cars in the city. So it's quite difficult when we go to camp and then you also come to camp with the same noise we are trying to escape. So please leave the noise behind when you go to camp. Also be mindful of the noise level you make at camp. I've already elaborated on this in the previous episode of this series, whereby I said don't wake us up just because you can't sleep. Okay, don't be a nuisance. Also, I spoke about this in the previous series. Don't be a nuisance to others. The reason why you are camping is not the reason why someone else is camping. So when you go to camps, please don't be a nuisance to others. Do not enter anyone else's campsite without their permission. I want to emphasize on this. Pathfinders, when you go to camps, we are camping as clubs, as units. Don't jump from one campsite to the other without the permission of the people who are camping there. Why am I saying this? Imagine you run into a campsite and then 5 minutes later they find out that something is missing from the campsite. Even if the person who stole it is within the same campsite, that person can then say it was you because they saw you moving from your campsite through their campsite. So the person will say you are the odd one out, so it is you. Trust me, I've experienced this when I go to camps. I've experienced this with some of the kids that I go to camp with. Leave the area cleaner than you found it. Leave the area cleaner than you found it. Don't go to camps and leave all the plastic bags that you go with over there with you. If you had a loaf of bread that came in a plastic bag, make sure that when the loaf of bread is finished, the plastic bag is put in the dustbin or you take it home with you if there is no dustbin provided. Okay. This one we're going to jump through it because we did the same leave no trace, 7 leave no trace principles in the first episode, which is Campaign Skills 1. So once again, please go and watch the Campaign Skills 1 video so you will get to understand the leave no principle. So I'm not going to get into details. I'm just going to read through it. Plan ahead and prepare. Travel and camp on durable surface. Dispose of waste properly. Leave what you find. Minimize campfire impact. Be careful with fire. Respect wildlife. And the last one, always ask for permission before entering other campsites or another campsite. 6 W's. There are 6 W's you need to look out for whenever you are planning a camp or whenever you are going to a camp. What are these 6 W's? Let's look at them. The first W is wind. For areas that are protected from the wind, this requires knowing or guessing at what the normal wind direction is. So for those of us, sometimes you know that when you go in a camp, especially if you're in KwaZulu-Natal, you find out that the wind blows heavily most of the time. So you have to know the speed of the wind and which direction is going, because your tent survival depends on how the wind is blowing, and that tells you how to pitch your tent. Okay, water. You must also know where water is at your campsite. You must know where you can get fresh water. Is the place or the area prone to flooding? You must know all of that. You must know all of that. Is there stagnant water that is going to cause you to have mosquitoes as part of your campsite? You must know all of that. Weather. Knowledge of the weather patterns of an area can help you decide the best location for your campsite. All right. Once again, I'm from KZN, so I will use the KZN areas as my reference point. If you are traveling along places in KZN like Pongola, you know you are climbing the mountains. So you should know that in the evening around 4-5 o'clock going, it's going to be cold. You must know that. If you are camping around Durban area and it's somewhere around April, you should know that there is a possibility of flooding in the coastal areas, because April is where Durban experiences its heavy rains. So you must know all of that and take that into consideration when planning a camp. Wild things. Beware of signs of large animals such as bear, wolves, and mountain lions. Also watch out for the small wild things such as snakes, spiders, ticks, biting flies, and mosquitoes. You must be aware of all of these because your safety depends on it. Your safety depends on it. If you are aware that the place you are going to have mosquitoes, then you should have mosquito repellent on you. If the place have snakes, you should know the type of snakes that are commonly found there, so you can carry yourself some antivenoms, or so you can have the nearest hospital or clinic in place, so you will know that in case of this, here is where I'm going to. All right. Wood. Adequate wood should be available. It's as simple as that. Wood is good for your cooking. Wood is good for keeping warm. And as we are doing camping skills too, wood is also good and very important in making of your cranes, which we are going to discuss as we go a bit further. And the last W is willingness. Make sure the owner of the property is willing for you to camp on it. Make sure you have the proper permit for camping areas. Okay, this is simple. Do not go and camp in a place where you are not welcome. Why am I saying this? I went to a camp once and we were chased away as Pathfinders. The owners of the place, even though we paid the management of the place for us to camp there, but the management, there was no communication between the management and the owner, and because of that, the owner came and chased us away. So you must know that the willingness of the owner, is the owner willing for you to use their place or not? Sometimes you find out that some owners will not allow you to camp there because you have a Christian background and they are not Christians. So you must know that also. Protect the wilderness and your water source. Protect the wilderness and your water source. Going on a camping trip does not absolve you from the need of for hygiene and sanitation. It merely makes it little less convenient. It's as simple as that. If you are going on a camp, it doesn't mean that because I'm going to a camp, I shouldn't follow any hygiene etiquettes. You must still keep yourself hygienically clean. All right. If you are camping on an established campground, use the toilet facilities provided. Otherwise, you will have to provide your own facilities. Some campsites have ablutions, so you please use them. Okay, if you are camping with a small group, This can be as simple as digging a cut hole no more than 10 inches, no, not more than 10 inches deep, and disposing your waste in the hole. All right. So it's as simple as that. Okay. When cooking, be sure to clean your dishes and kitchen area immediately after use. Again, how you do this depends on the size of your group. Okay, so when you are camping, sometimes you find some clubs, what they do is they come up with a roster that breakfast dishes will be washed by this person, lunch dishes will be washed by that person, supper and dinner dishes will be washed by that person. Others, what they do, they set up some rules and regulations, and whoever goes against the rules and regulations end up doing the kitchen dishes for the day. All right, so it is in the description of the camp organizers. When camping with a small group, wipe all dishes, pots, pans, and utensils as clean as you can with paper towels. Burn the paper towels. Then you can scrub the dishes out with clean sand and rinse them off. When camping with a large group, you will need to establish a dishwashing area. If it's a small group, if it's you alone, then you know it's you alone. It's you alone, you do your dishes yourself. But if it's a big group, the dishes are a lot. The things to wash are a lot. So to stop people from throwing water all over the place, then you have to establish an area. You have to demarcate an area and say, this is the area whereby we are going to wash dishes. Okay. Build and know the use of a council fire or crisscross fire and one type of cooking fire. So here we have a council fire. This is how a council fire looks like. All right, this is how a council fire looks like. It says the council fire was used by Native Americans during their meetings or councils. It is very much like the log cabin fire, except that more than 2 logs are laid on each other. Be careful not to lay the logs too close to one another. Be careful not to put the logs too close to one another. Another cooking fire we are looking at is what we call the hunter's fire. A hunter's fire is a cooking fire. The hunter's fire is a cooking fire. The logs on top are spaced close enough together such that a pot, pan, or Dutch oven can be placed on top of them. Try to lay it as level as possible. Try to lay it as level as possible, else you find your pot or your pan flying off. Okay. Now let's look at fire safety. Now fire safety, once again we spoke about this in the previous episode, which is Campaign Skills 1. So I am not going to go into much details. I will just touch on the key points I want you to actually pay attention to. All right. Locate the fire in a safe place. Do not light a fire beneath overhanging branches. There are some trees you find their branches hanging down low. Do not set a fire or your fire close to those branches. As the fire burns, those leaves can actually catch fire and then the tree will burn. Do not use accelerants such as lighter fluid, gasoline, kerosene, etc. Don't use them because they actually accelerate the fire burning, which means 1, your fire will burn out quickly. 2, the fire can explode. If too much of it is used, the fire can explode and you find yourself burning. Put the fire out completely before leaving it. Put the fire out completely before leaving it. They say where there is smoke, there is fire. So make sure there is no smoke coming out when you are done turning off the fire. Sometimes you would think you are done turning it off, and then when you turn back, you will see some small smoke coming out of it. Where there is smoke, once again, there is fire. Do not build a fire on top of flammable materials such as grass or leaves. If you are setting up a fire and there is grass or there is leaves, please make sure you remove them before you set the fire, as they can also catch fire and help the fire to spread. Keep fire extinguishing supplies handy and near the fire. What are some of these fire extinguishing that you're talking about? We can look at the fire extinguishing spray, which is the chemical that comes in that red spraying canister. You can have that. You can also have sand, bags of sand or buckets of sand next to you, so that in case the fire is spreading or you need to turn it off, you can just use those. All right. Do not remove burning sticks from a fire. You are camping with Pathfinders. Pathfinders, especially the boys, they tend to do this a lot. When they see that the other group's fire is burning and theirs is not burning, what they do is simple. They go to that group, remove one stick, walk back with that one stick and put it in their fire to help it burn. The Pathfinders should avoid doing that. Reason being, when they do that, the fire can start. It can drop, or the what do you call it? The embers will start dropping behind them, and it can start small fires, and next thing you know, the whole campsite is on fire. Watch for embers that escape the fire pit and extinguish them immediately. Sometimes, as I'm saying, because of weather conditions, you will see wild winds blowing, and they can blow the embers, the small pieces of fire, to blow them out of the fire pit. Please find them and turn them off immediately before they end up starting new fires and giving you problems. Do not light a fire when conditions are adverse. High winds or drought conditions are not good for fire. So please do not light a fire or do not start fires when you have high winds or drought conditions. Okay, explain 2 ways to keep camp food clean. 2 ways to keep camp food clean. One may keep food cold without ice while on a camping trip. It is placed. Sorry, let me take that again. One way to keep food cool without ice while on a camping trip is to place the food in a mesh bag and secure it in a stream or brook. In a stream or brook. What does it mean? There is a mesh bag which actually prevents water from going into your food. It's waterproof, but it helps the food to maintain its temperature. And with that, when you put it in the stream, since the stream is also cold, the food keeps the temperature. All right, another way is to put the food in a bag. Cover it with several layers of burlaps. Wet the burlap and suspend it from a tree branch. As the weather evaporates, or as the water evaporates from the burlap, it will cool the food. You have to re-wet the bag occasionally. That means if you go that option, you have to have someone designated into making sure that the bag constantly has water. Okay. Build 2 different camp cranes. 2 different camp cranes. So here we are going to look at types of camp cranes and how they work. First, before you build it, you are going to need a pot hanger. This is how a pot hanger is. It's made out of wood. So please pay attention to the diagram of the pot hanger. It's very good. It helps you to hang the pot on the fire, and so that you don't touch the hot part of the fire, because it's wood. You just have to pick it up and you go. All right. And then we have this one, the pot hook, which is simple. If your pot is inside the fire, if it's inside the fire, for example, those who are using the 3-legged pot, we will see a picture of it later in the series. If you are using that, you need to pick it up. But because it's in the fire, it's hot. So there's a handle that is there. So for you to remove it, you can just use that hook to remove it. So here is our first crane. So our first crane has a log in the middle and then a rock as a support. So there's a support rock and there's a pivot wood, and then the pot is hanging on the tip of the wood, and then you have your fire underneath the pot and it starts burning. One of the ways I found that you can actually cook this without a proper pot, you can take your 2-liter plastic bottle, like a juice bottle, cut off the top, fill it with water, and then put whatever you want to cook. It can be eggs, you can put eggs inside, and then make sure you put holes not too close to the edge and not way too close to the middle, because you need enough water for it to burn, for it to cook. But the water it should be enough that the plastic does not burn itself out. Okay, so that is one of the cranes. The other crane we have here is one of my favorites because it allows you to adjust the level. So you have a tripod stand which is made here. When we come to Camping Skills 3, we will learn more about campcraft. You have a tripod stand that is here. You have a bar going across it, and then you have the pot or the plastic you are using to cook with the fire. And then at the bottom part here, the back part here, you have the stick which is going to the ground, is piled into the ground, and then you have a rope that is coiled around the stick. So here it's simple. You rotate the stick, and then that adjusts how close the pot is to the fire. So if you make the rope shorter, that means the pot is going up. That means it's moving away from the fire. But if you make the rope here longer, that means the pot is going to drop because of the weight the pot is carrying. All right, let's look at another crane. Now this other crane is just like the first one, but the difference is instead of having a log here, you have a Y shape, a branch, stick piled to the ground, and then the stick that is holding the pot is also piled to the ground. Okay, now this is the one that has the pot hanger. This is the one that has the pot hanger. As you can see up here, there is your pot hanger. The pot is hanging on it, and then you have 2 Y shaped or branched sticks. One is piled to the ground, the other one is held in place by stones. The other one is held in place by stones. Some people find themselves piling both of them to the ground. There's nothing wrong with that. All right, now that brings us to the end of Camping Skills 2. Stay tuned for the other 2 parts of this series of Camping Skills. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you very much. God bless you.